Hey guys, DeanPo here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone's doing well. And today I came across a very interesting article, and I thought I'll share with you guys. And the article states, Starfield fans believe Shattered Space could be much bigger than past Bethesda DLCs. Now, let me tell you why I agree with this and why this has been my thought process ever since the new video came out and they announced Shattered Space, basically calling it a massive expansion. So here's the thing, right? This game was rushed. The game was not ready to be released, and they only baked like the beginning section of the game. So if you look at the Starfield as a whole, the end game systems are not really populated. They're just generic systems. You may find a little bit of story on Masada, but that is about it, right? And we'll discuss later on in the video where I think they'll be going. But guys, if I had to take a stab, I would say expect to see a lot more like Vulture's Roost type of facilities spread out all across Starfield systems. I'm pretty sure that was the way this game was designed from the beginning, not just the 20 odd templates that we have on repeat currently. Anyways, let's just get into this article and then I'll discuss what I suspect it will be coming with Shattered Space. So, Shattered Space marks a return to expansion packs for Bethesda, hinting at potentially more ambitious scope for Starfield. While Starfield received mixed reviews in comparison to Fallout 4 and Skyrim, the gunplay and ship design were well received, which is no lie. Fans hope Shattered Space will address Starfield's quest and exploration issues with a focus on exploring House Varun. Look, this is a suspicion we've all had. And getting more lore on Varun will definitely be welcome, given that all the best weapons come from them. Not the armor, though the armor looks extremely cool. It is not the best armor in the game, but they got the best particle weapons in the game, bar none. So, Shattered Space is the first time since Oblivion Shearing Isles that Bethesda has used the term expansion pack. And Starfield players believe that this could imply a more ambitious scope for the project. Absolutely. They released a game that was half-baked. The game has come a long way since, definitely for the better. And I think Shattered Space not only will bring new content, but it will complete the game the way it was meant to be launched. So, though Starfield broke several Bethesda records at launch, many fans have a mixed opinion on how Starfield compares to previous Bethesda titles such as Fallout 4 or Skyrim. The gunplay and ship design Starfield was almost universally praised by its community on release, but questing and open world exploration left a lot to be desired. I agree and disagree with this. I feel like open world exploration is not bad. It's not the greatest, but I wouldn't say it's, left a lot to be desired. I think the way planets work is fine. Now with the extreme mode, the way different surfaces, radiation, all that works, I think that's very well thought out. If you thought you're going to get your Star Citizen seamless experience from launching to landing, then yeah, world exploration left a lot to be desired, but Starfield was never going to be that game. It was never going to be that game. So I think a lot of people needed to check their expectations before, they played this game, because they were expecting a polished version of almost Star Citizen, which you're not going to get. Not to mention Star Citizen's budget is 700 million up to date, raised in revenue, in funding, and they're nowhere near a completion date, right? So let's just put our expectations in check there. As such, a majority of players see Shattered Space as a way for Starfield to address these shortcomings. So, given that Bethesda has around 250 employees still working on Starfield, and the Shattered Space will come out roughly a year after the initial launch of the game, the potential for full-blown expansion is certainly there. It's not a potential, it is going to happen. It is there, and it is an expansion. Do not be surprised if we get almost another full version of Skyrim released with Shattered Space. So, though it should be noted that Bethesda has regularly released updates for Starfield, guys, yes, they have released updates, but these are updates that should be in the game from D-Day, from launch day. These were quality of life improvements all the way up until they launched Extreme Mode. There's nothing new added to the game. This is all stuff, quality of life improvements that should have been there from the get-go. Shattered Space should allow the developer to address heavyweight issues such as lack of alien environments or over-reliance on procedural generation. I don't know what they mean by over-reliance on procedural generation, because procedural generation is minimal in this game. It's the same templates, they're just procedurally spawned, so I wouldn't call that full procedural generation. So such as a lack of alien environments, this I agree with. It would have been good to get like more races, like Mass Effect, be it humanoid or not, as long as they're sentient and you can, interact with them, and to be able to trade with them and get different weapons and gears. That would have been freaking awesome. And mark my words, that will come with Shattered Space. It will come. It's inevitable. So, anyways, we'll discuss that later on in the video. Let's just continue reading this article, and then I'll tell you which points I agree with and which points I disagree with. So, not much is known about the upcoming expansion pack or what Shattered Space can bring to Starfield, but the very fact that Bethesda is referring to as an expansion could be a clue in itself. I agree with this. So, fans strongly believe that the word choice is deliberate and implies the Shattered Space will have a scope closer to Shivering Isles than Far Harbor. While Bethesda hasn't confirmed anything beyond a release window for Shattered Space, video footage shows that Starfield expansion will focus on House of Varun to some degree. I agree, but it's not going to be fully House of Varun. There's going to be so much more that we're going to get. House of Varun will be perhaps the theme of it, but it'll be a lot more there. So here we have an extract from the Bethesda interview. So it's saying, and lastly, the team is hard at work on development of Shattered Space, our first major expansion coming next year. You'll have new story content, let me just open that up, new locations, new gear, and much more. We can't wait to share with you next year, and we'll get back to the locations in a second. Support for Starfield and the massive Shattered Space expansion. Stay tuned in the coming months for more news on these. So we'll get back to Reddit eventually. Let's just keep going. So arguably the most enigmatic faction in the Starfield in Settled Systems, and of course it's enigmatic because there's not much to begin with. You have the Freestar Collective who wear their heart on their sleeve. You have the bureaucratic UC, so there's nothing enigmatic there. You have your spacers who are just as bad as the Ecliptic. There's no substance there. Pirates, you get a bit of background with the Crimson Fleet quest. So House of Ruin really is the only thing left interesting that we haven't really explored. I like the Freestar Collective of the United Colonies. House of Ruin has yet to be thought or explored as a major faction in Starfield. The capital city of Dazra remains a mystery, and Andrea from the Constellation is arguably the only notable link that players have with understanding the culture and customs of House of Ruin. Cool. And while there's no guarantees that fans will get to visit Dazra in Shattered Space, a handcrafted open-world experience on the Alien world should address many of the issues that players had with Starfield. In fact, the content ends up rivaling Shivering Isles in size and scope. Shattered Space could completely... I think it will be bigger than Shivering Isles. Shattered Space could completely flip public opinion on Starfield, though it remains to be seen what Bethesda has in store for players in the Shattered Space expansion pack. It cannot be argued that Starfield fans remain optimistic about the game's future. I think Starfield fans got a lot more optimistic once the latest update dropped. So what do I think will drop for Shattered Space? So we'll go over what's confirmed. So vehicles have been confirmed. They will come in Shattered Space. And in line with that, I would also assume we'll get mechs. I think we'll get both utility mechs and assault mechs. And I think they're gonna work much like the power armor in Fallout, just on a slightly larger scale. But I think they'll be very sort of they'll be battery driven or reactor driven or whatever, and then you'll be able to utilize them for whatever purpose. Another one which has been data mined is the space stations. I think modders have already done this, so it makes perfect sense. So if you can have outposts on the planets, we already have space stations in space. So adding the space stations is a no-brainer. I think we'll definitely get it with Shattered Space, or maybe even before Shattered Space, dare I say, if there's going to be another major update, which I suspect we're still going to get another update or two before September, October, whenever this update's meant to launch. So pretty certain on that. I'm feeling very positive about it. Now, here's a big one that I think is going to happen. I think with Shattered Space, we're going to see a massive overhaul of melee weapons. If you look at Fallout, that's like a 10-year-old game, and Skyrim before that, like the melee is much better than Starfield. So, my opinion, they will completely revamp melee. They'll add new melee weapons, making the melee playstyle a lot more viable. And I think they'll also redesign the melee combat 3 as well. My personal opinion remains to be seen, but I think if they had more time to launch this title, they would have refined the melee weapons on it. Now let's move on to the new cities and endgame systems. As you can see now, so Huygens, Hawking, Bohr, Fermi, many other ones are still barren. Like, it feels like they only polished the beginning of the game, as many people suspected for the first month or two after playing it, and they left all the end game systems untouched. So in my personal opinion, we'll definitely see these end game systems populated. What they're going to be populated with remains to be seen, but it will definitely get at least 1 or 2 more cities. As the article stated, if we're going to get a House Varun themed DLC, I expect to get House Varun maps there. Very likely we're going to get a Varun settlement at the very least, or perhaps a city. It remains to be seen though, but I suspect if it's Varun themed, guaranteed to get it. More templates, absolutely more templates. I think there's going to be more to explore. We've seen half-baked templates in the game already that are not populated, that people have discovered on Reddit. And I expect a lot of these to be populated and a lot of new ones to come. Interested to see how they're going to go on about the what's it called, the procedural generation though, because it has so much more potential than we already have. Given that how the game's coded and how the game engine works, I don't expect anything like Diablo, the old Diablos, when it's just like generates as you go. But once again, I mean, I could be surprised, but I highly doubt it. And last but not least, I suspect there's going to be some alien factions at the very least. At least some aliens we can interact with, and they're going to have some funky spaceships, probably funky settlements, very much like Mass Effect. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they play that out, because the potential is limitless. So do fans have a reason to be optimistic? Absolutely. You know, they're going to, I have a feeling this expansion is going to be the size of almost the full size of Starfield. Mark my words, it's going to happen. And this is a game that's going to surpass Skyrim and Fallout. Even though it may not seem like it right now, I think this will get released to PlayStation in the future, and this game is just going to have pretty much like a second release date once it hits PlayStation. And by then, it's going to be fine-tuned and everything will be brought up to speed. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, whether you agree or disagree with my remarks. That's what I expect to see, and I would be very surprised if we don't see at least 80% of those things that I just mentioned. As always, thank you for watching. I do appreciate your time, and I hope to catch you next video. Peace.